Born Primitive Outdoor is proud to partner with Montana Knife Company, Marsupial Gear, Evolution Outdoors, Sheep Feet, and Capture Gear. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks to our sponsors. Hello, everybody. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. It's actually Christmas has passed, but I was down in Texas hanging out with my daughter and grandkids because I'm fucking getting old. But Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. First guest of 2026, and I'm extremely excited about this because these two brothers have brought a product to the industry, or are bringing a product to the industry that I have waited for a very long time. I'll let them get into that, but that is Josh and Chris Neville. Fellas, welcome to the podcast, and I cannot tell you how pumped I am about what you guys are doing. Introduce yourselves so I don't fuck this up.
Josh, you go first.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it, Aaron. Thanks for letting us on the podcast, man. Always been following you along. Shit's awesome. So I'm excited to be on here and talk with you. But yeah, my name is Josh Neville. I'm the co-founder of Roughridge Stove Co. With my brother, and yeah, we'll talk about it. But man, it's been 3 years in the making for this. I think talking to Aron past few weeks and stuff, we're all very aligned with what we're designing here and what we're trying to bring to market. But man, super stoked to be on here and talk with you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
And I'm Chris Neville, the other brother, co-founder. I've been a fan of yours for a long time, listening to all your podcasts, especially been watching those old videos of you testing cook systems. So excited to get on here and talk with you about that.
Yeah. So for everybody that's listening in, like what the hell are you guys talking about? Chris and Josh basically are introducing a cook system to the market, which is a pot and a stove and a spoon that is unique to what's already offered in some ways, and then obviously the same because it boils water and helps you whatever in the backcountry. What's really cool about this for me is you guys are offering something that I would basically have or have already designed or modified, and the bonus is you guys are hunters, pro hunting, pro Second Amendment, and you're not, leaf lickers, right? So that's the issue that I have with a lot of the companies on the market that were, hunters and outdoorsmen and women are pouring money into, like Jetboil or MSR or, Soto or whatever. You guys are offering a stove system by two brothers, diving into what they love and pro Second Amendment, pro hunting. And I'm really excited about that. So kind of tell us, everybody listening, like where did this start? Did you guys sit on the side of the mountain and somebody got hit in the head with a rock and woke up like, fuck, we should design a stove? Like, where'd this come from? Like, how did it start?
I think for us, we grew up hunting together. We were actually originally from Iowa, grew up hunting together, moved out west, have been backcountry hunting for a long time. And we always wanted to start a company together. Like, that was always our goal. We've always been big dreamers. And eventually we got to a point, and I remember exactly where I was at. It's February 2022. I was on the way to the Western Hunt Expo. I was working for Go Hunt at the time. And my brother and I were kind of brainstorming different ideas of possible companies that we could make. And we were kind of going through our cook system. And this is like always this area that we were changing every single year. All the setups were either too big, too bulky, and then we kind of go into this other area where we're Frankensteining our own cook systems, buying our pot from this company, buying our sport from this company, and nothing really fit and worked for how we wanted it on backcountry hunts. And then it just hit us from right there at that point. We're like, this is what we need to do. You look around at, like you mentioned, all these other companies making cook systems, not for us, completely against hunting, not our lifestyle. And we just dove in head first from that moment. Like, it was just like a light bulb went off. Like, this, we really think this is something that is going to work and be really beneficial for backcountry hunters.
Okay, so you kind of undersold that. So that's where it came from, the design, right? Like, what you guys wanted a system, like the design that you have come out with, how is that unique? Like, why should people, other than your pro hunting, like, why should people buy this? What's unique about it?
Well, I'd say the biggest thing that's unique about it, like Christopher said, there's two options in the market. A lot of guys will come into the market right away and use jet boils for the reason of it's super easy, like the full system. But the big downfall is it doesn't work very well, and it's big and bulky. And then you have the other option. You kind of go down. You want to be super ultra lightweight. And the issue with that is like there is no ultralight systems out there, so you have to go piecemeal. You have to go buy, a stove, is buy a pot, you have to buy a spork and a fuel canister, all from different brands. So the biggest issue with that is like it's hard, and we want to make one full system that's ultralight. Like Christopher said, we're backcountry hunters. That's the stuff we live for. We count our weight, we count everything. So we wanted to make a system that is ultralight in one system and to compete with the jet boil. And what's unique about ours is there's so much, it's packed with features. Like we went through everything and looked at the marketplace. What are the true problems out there? And kind of went through and here's a solution. So I say the biggest thing for us, like the kind of value proposition that we're kind of leaning into is, one, everything fits inside your pot, and that includes a spork. I think you look out there, you can fit your stove and your fuel canister inside your pots now, but a lot of times your spork is sitting somewhere else in your pack. You have to pull that out and use it. So we made this 8-inch folding spork that fits inside there. Everything fits inside of it. So I think that's a huge piece of it. And then how we solved the kind of the ultralight and the full system piece is we've designed this removable wind guard. And as you guys know, when you're out there, it's your stoves and stuff, you're in the wind, you're in these horrible conditions. So we wanted to provide hey, you want to go out for a rip for a weekend, you want to go ultralight? Okay, take your wind guard off. It doesn't matter. You don't need to be fuel efficient. But you want to go on a longer, week, 2-week backcountry hunt. Well, put your wind guard on, add a little extra weight, but it keeps you super fuel efficient. And in the backcountry, as you guys know, it's just, you have to be fuel efficient and it has to be reliable. And that's kind of what our design and our whole idea for the system was.
So that wind guard can be detached. So not just for weight purposes, but also if you ran out of fuel for, air quotation, but survival purposes, you could take that wind guard off and boil, using, just a fire then. That's an option.
Correct.
Yeah. And it also adds, so for me, another reason why I like the removable wind guard, if I'm going on a 10-day backcountry hunt, my pack is full to the brim. So having that removable wind guard, I can actually pack that inside the pot, and it makes the overall size of the entire cook system a lot smaller, takes up less space in your pack, and just overall better packability when you can remove it and pack it inside the pot.
So you can fit the wind guard, whatever it is, 4-ounce isobutane canister, the actual, the stove, I guess, or whatever the part that the fuel canister hooks to, and the wind guard and a spork and a lighter, all in the same pot.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, and then what is that whole system without the fuel canister? What's that whole system weigh?
So it's 10 ounces is the full system. The wind guard, pot, stove, spork is 10 ounces full system.
Yeah, so you guys really are, in that ultra lightweight game, and you're also hitting kind of the, when I say ultralight, for backpacking or backpack hunting, but also you can use this more of the prepper kind of bushcraft world, because you can, where you look at a jet boil or a reactor, you can put it in the fire, but it does not work as well. So with taking that wind guard off, you can actually use it on that side of the fence, and it's at 10 ounces. So when you guys design the pot, it's obviously not cylindrical or round. What made you come up with that design? Did you just basically say, let's just make it exact size that we need to fit a lighter and a spork in there? Knowing you would have the added benefit of, more of a heat exchange because it's larger as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the design actually, it's an irregular hexagon at the top. And the reason why is that's the most space efficient shape to fit everything inside the pot without making the pot bigger and heavier. So like we found with that at the top, that irregular octagon, like that allows us to fit everything inside. When you have a circle, you couldn't fit everything inside. So just that added extra space is really like one of the main reasons with the shape of the pot. So you can fit everything inside.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So, as far as like, you've hit, and anybody, if you Google, like I've done a ton of videos on this, I use an MSR reactor a lot, but boil time wise, something similar to the system that you guys are offering, that I had tested ended up being better boil time, but it's not as versatile as what you guys are offering. But when I say versatile, again, throwing it in the fire and, whatever durability or whatever else, boil time, what are we looking at for boil times? Are you guys comparable to like, the equivalent on the market? What's that look like?
You want to take it?
Yeah, I mean, I think, we're definitely comparable in the market. It obviously depends, but like, we're right at 2 minutes. And that's in like good conditions. Like if it's windy, I think that's the biggest thing we've tested is we put the stuff out in the wind. I.e. like a jet boil versus ours. That jet boil typically will not light in the wind. And we put ours up there and it consistently always lights. And I think that's the stuff we're going after. And the boil times, when you add the wind guard on, it's about, right at 2 minutes. And then the wind guard's a little longer, but it really varies. But we're definitely like right in the range with everybody else.
And when you say lights... Hold on one second. When you say lights, that's you guys have a whatever that is, piezo, whatever igniter on it.
Correct. Yep.
So when you say lights with the igniter.
Yeah, and that was like one thing I was going to mention too about our stove. The biggest problem with your stove, most of the stoves out there, is the igniter always fails. Like that's the biggest complaint that you'll see across the board. And we completely changed how igniter is built into a stove system. So a lot of times your igniters or piezo igniters on stoves are exposed, they're sitting outside, and what happens is you bump them, you break them, they're just not, the longevity and reliability isn't very well just because they're fully exposed. We took the piezo igniter, fully built it into the casting of the stove itself. None of it's exposed. It can't get bumped. It can't get hit. You can't get dirt in there. It can't get wet. So like the longevity and reliability of our igniter is hands down way better than any other stove out there.
Okay, gotcha. No, that makes total sense. So when you said 2 minutes on boil time, is that for a half or a full liter of water?
That's right at, it's like a full liter.
Yeah, that is very good. For a full liter to hit, a 2 minute boil time, that is significantly better than a lot of the options, on the market right now. So, but that's with everything. That's with the windshield, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, and so like boil times for me, honestly, they're very subjective. So environmental conditions, your canister, the fuel, like if your stove has a fuel regulator, the temperature of the water, there's a lot of things that can affect boil times.
Altitude.
And altitude. And, also with that, there's not a direct correlation with if you have fast boil times, it doesn't always or like if you have slow boil times, like it's about the fuel. How much fuel am I using is something that's important to me, is because the heaviest thing that you take out there is fuel. That's the heaviest thing you carry. So having a stove that's fuel efficient in a vast majority of conditions, right? As a backcountry hunter, we're in all sorts of environmental conditions. You need to have the most optimal system. So that's why sometimes I'm not so big on boil times necessarily, just because they can be so subjective. Like it's hard to compare a boil time to someone else. If they did if their water temperature is 70 degrees and mine's 40, their boil time is going to be a lot faster. If their canister pressure is half full and mine's full, like that's going to affect boil time. So it's a very subjective thing. And that's why, like, me, honestly, my opinion is, like, I'm not huge on boil time sometimes, just because it is so subjective. And I'm not for sure, like, what someone's exact environment conditions are for when they actually did their boil test.
Yeah, and it is subjective, because if you have a stove company that is in, I don't know, whatever, Delaware, I don't know, whatever, pick it.
Right.
Sea level, and then, obviously you can say lab conditions, but somebody in a lab in Colorado, Fort Collins, Denver, they're going to be 5,000 feet roughly higher in altitude, and that slows down, the boil time. But, and I agree, like, fuel efficiency is a big one. And when I say that, it doesn't matter for overnight trips, really, right? The shorter trips, it's not as big of a deal, because you're not going to run out of fuel. When you really start to stretch the legs of your trip, that's where it really comes into play, because that's a question I get a lot. It's like, hey, I'm going for a 5-day trip. How many, fuel canisters do I, bring? And then, as you just said, well, are you going to be above 10,000 feet or above 8? Do you boil in the morning and in the afternoon? There's a lot to it. And so that's where that boil time really kind of flies out the window in comparison to fuel efficiency.
Right. Yeah. And for me too, it's like sitting in a room doing the test, like, it's good to have a standard test, but also, like, I'm usually doing my test inside. I try to bring my water down to 40 to 50 degrees. That's like your average temperature of a river. Like, I'm trying to mimic, like, conditions that we're in as much as possible to give me a better idea of what we're dealing with. And with our stove, surprisingly not, most of the stoves on the market do not have a fuel regulator, or a pressure regulator is what is, like, the name for it. And that, hands down right there, to us is a big problem. For a backcountry hunter at high altitude in a varying different environments and conditions, like, you have to have a fuel regulator built into your stove, so you're getting optimal performance, no matter if it's 20 degrees, 50 degrees, 10,000 feet, 12,000 feet. Like, you're going to get consistent performance all the time. Plus, it also allows you simmer control. Simmer control also is a good way to save more fuel. If you can simmer down, like, if I'm making coffee, like, I usually like to have mine on low, because I'm going to use about half the amount of fuel if I run it on high. The best time for me when I'm using this system to be on high is when it's, like, windy as hell out. I'm on open ridge. Like, that's when it's going to be most fuel efficient me to run my stove on high. But just to having that ability to simmer, bring it high, medium, low, like, that gives the hunter more options, different ways to save fuel, and just giving them more options on how to use their cook system.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. The simmer part of it, a lot of people, depending upon, when I'm boiling water for a whatever peak refuel, I don't really give a shit about simmer. I turn it on like I'm going to, burn out, whatever hell, boil it, throw it in. But, like, when you look at, other, like, whatever, top ramen, or, there's different things, coffee, like you had mentioned, hot chocolate, whatever. The simmer portion of that is a pretty big deal, because there's a lot of, most stoves on the market have, full on fuck you and off. There's not a simmer. Right. There's not a mid ground in that. And that's not always a bad thing, but it's always a bonus when you do have that simmer option. So when you were talking about simmer, like with what you guys are offering, it does have a relatively adjustable simmer on it, where you can run it kind of half flow, not burning the pits of hell, is what you're saying.
Oh yeah. It has, you can really get simmer control. Like, you can bring that thing all the way down, and it'll stay burning like that till the fuel canister runs out.
And I think, like you said, Aaron, like, it's not for, a lot of these, call them granola, people like to simmer stuff for making other stuff. Like, we're not out there simmering. Like, we're out there to make, peak refuels, use these freeze-dried meals. The main purpose of what we designed our stove and our system for was efficiency. Like, we need to keep as much fuel as possible to keep us longer in the backcountry. So that simmer control affords us, if you want to go simmer, to be more fuel efficient. And then if you want to rip it on and go full bore, it's windy out, turn it on full bore. So like that's our main goal, is truly the efficiency piece. Obviously boil times is important, but like efficiency for us and like hunters and what we're designing it for is efficiency and keeping that fuel as long as possible.
Oh yeah, no, that's good. So when you I mean, we kind of skipped through some of this you guys mentioned, but you're calling it's the Roughridge stove, correct?
The Roughridge is like the name, but like our actual like product will be the High Country cook system.
Okay, so it's High Country. Okay, and then when will that be? And I just want to touch on this because there's going to be people wondering because we haven't mentioned it. When will it be available? Can you pre-order? When will you be shipping? A price point as well.
Yeah. So the goal, as of right now, I mean, there's obviously moving stuff, but right now will be we'll start shipping out to people will be the end of February, beginning of March. And as we get closer, we may open up the pre-order. We haven't decided yet, but we'll definitely keep everybody updated if we do open the pre-order. And the MSRP price point will be $249 for the full system, which we're going to include with our system is 2 free fuel canisters with it. That'll be our Roughridge fuel canisters. They're not different than the other ones out there, but they're our Roughridge fuel canisters.
Gotcha. Which, I mean, that price point, you're certainly not the lowest, but you're also not the highest either. You know, I mean, I think a reactor's $289, $269. I mean, probably you could find it for $259 on sale. But you know, when I look at the reactor, that's kind of the one that I based everything off of for the last 10 years. But your system compared to that reactor is a lot more, you know, versatile, being able to pull off the windshield. Obviously, the weight, I get, and I can't remember. I think 18 ounces was what my smaller reactor weighs. It might be more than that actually. And you guys are at 10 ounces, and then also you can remove that windshield, and you don't have to have the aluminum foil thing like the old school, you know, multi-fuel stoves or whatever, like that windshield. Yeah, you can remove that. So you're going to offer 2 fuel canisters, a spork, the stove, and the pot. And then let's talk about the pot, I guess, you know, for $249, which I think is a great price. With that pot, I've, you know, looked at this. A lot of the questions I get, because people will go on to, I don't know, Amazon, whatever, and buy a titanium, you know, pot or whatever else, and they don't really, you know, when you boil water, even for coffee in the morning, you will burn the shit out of your hand. Your system has basically a protective lid. When you pick up the lid or whatever, you're not going to burn your hand. And then you also have a coated handle for, you know, drinking coffee, things like that.
Yeah. So we have burn-free handles so you can drink out of it. And then the biggest problem that we always found with titanium pots is the damn lid always falling off. That lid would always fall off, your shit scattered throughout your backpack. So we decided to make our lid have like a silicone on the outside, similar to like a Yeti cup, so that when you put that lid on, all of your stuff stays inside. It's not going to fall off in your pack. It's going to be secure. We also have vents in there. So for when you boil water, you have your lid on, like you're going to be able to see the steam coming out right away when it's boiling. And then, yeah, just overall the unique shape of it, one of a kind, able to pack everything inside the pot. And then the removable wind guard. There's just a lot of things with this. The pot actually is the thing that took us the longest to make. Nobody could make this irregular octagon shape. That was definitely the toughest thing. No, everywhere we went, all the manufacturers, they said, nope, can't make that shape. And we were just really determined. We wanted everything to fit inside the pot. That was something that was really important to us. And we finally were able to find a manufacturer to work with us and make that shape. But that was something that we didn't think would take as long, and definitely was the hardest thing to make was our pot.
Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine dealing with the manufacturing side of things. Yeah, and on that note, so are you two, I mean, this is yours, right? I mean, you're footing the bill, you're bootstrapping it. I mean, this is your baby. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're we're bootstrapping this, well, obviously we're not like wealthy people. We don't have access to a bunch of money out there. So we've had to invest pretty much all of our savings, and, we have a lot of stuff up on this, but at the end of the day, it's like, we are like the customer. We feel very confident in this, and it's incredibly scary, but like, it's a bet I think Chris and I are both 100% willing to do and, lean into with this brand.
Yeah. And like one thing with our stove, none of this is off the shelf. Like this isn't like white labeled product. Like this is all designed from us. We went to these manufacturers and we completely made new tools for this product. So like that's what's the most costly. But for us, when you want to make something that's never been done before, when you want to make something that you're proud of, when you want to make something that you can take out there and trust every single time you go on a backcountry hunt, you kind of have to do things a little bit different. And that's what we realized right away. And we were willing to put everything into that in our manufacturing and make something that's completely different than what's out there.
Yeah, and you did. When I first saw it, before I started talking to you guys or whatever, I was like, that looks cool. And then, obviously reached out. I got a stove, to test out, and then started bullshitting with you guys, which has been great. So, for me, it's always much better to, promote and support. One, obviously people that support hunting and the Second Amendment and whatever, but also, just two dudes that aren't what I would consider or call cake eaters, right? Your dad's a millionaire or a billionaire, and it's not, when your dad's a millionaire, a billionaire, and you're running a business, air quotations, that he is supporting, it's much different because yes, you got to run it and you have to obviously make it work. But when you're doing it on your own, using your own savings, it is a fucking gamble that will make you have gray hair. Do you guys have gray hair yet? Are you getting there?
I'm starting to get some, honestly, after this past year. My beard is like, I might become a Santa Claus. No, that's awesome. Well, I don't want to, we don't need to go too far on this. When I saw this, when I got to take a look at it, I wanted to get you guys on the podcast and get the word out because I am all in on this system, all in on promoting you and supporting you guys. And, again, this doesn't even need to be said. It's not like these guys are paying me, nor could they. It sounds like you guys are broke as shit by getting this off the ground, which is pretty standard. So, I just wanted to get the word out because anytime, again, I'm not a fan of Jetboil. I've been to the outdoor retailer show where they basically kicked me out of the booth because I was a hunter. And, people still use them and they're like, no, they support hunters. I'm like, no, they take your money. That's a big difference. They don't support hunting. They just take your money. And MSR is kind of neutral, but they don't promote, hunting. And there's definitely some leaf lifters, where you guys, why wouldn't you support, brothers that are bootstrapping an amazing system? So, I appreciate you guys, hopping on, but give everybody the lowdown again, the website, when it's going to ship, the price point, can they get on any kind of an email or early, all that kind of stuff. Chris, you want to take it?
Yeah. So our plan is the website is roughridgestove.com. Right now we have an email list that we're trying to collect. That's where we're kind of keep everyone up to date on our testing, where we're at, when things are going to launch. Also have a ton of information on our website of all the different specs and features. That is one thing that I would recommend anyone. We talked a lot about the features, but there's so many more small details in this cook system that we probably didn't even hit on. And I really recommend people going to our website and checking out all that kind of stuff. Also, Instagram, Roughridge Stove. We're really active on there in the hunting community. And then the plan is to hopefully have these suckers launched for sale on our website in March for $249 full system, 2 free canisters. And 2026 is going to be a big year for us. We're excited. We really appreciate you having us on, Aaron.
Oh yeah, I'm excited for everything you guys are doing. if people have, I will have a video up on this system, showing everybody kind of how it works on the Born Primitive Outdoor YouTube page, as well as my own personal, page. I'll have that up fairly quickly. We're actually Kurt, Wally, the team, Jerry, we're all actually snowshoeing into an area next week, and we're using this system to kind of show it off, which I'm excited to show these guys that system as well. So I'll have videos on it. You'll be able to ask me if you have questions. Obviously, you can ask these guys. But again, I can't say how happy I am to finally have a option on the market that I know when I pay for it, that money is not going to take my guns or my hunting away. So I hats off to you guys for doing this. And it crazy enough, two dudes from Iowa, right? Not billionaires, not millionaires, are the first ones to really ever do this. Hunters making a stove system option. So it's pretty fucking badass, fellas. I appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate Aaron bringing us on here, man. Like Christopher said, just beyond stoked for this year. We all see it. We all know what the industry and how no one caters to the hunters. And it's one of our biggest things is we're going to develop our products, design our products for hunters, and we're pro hunting and we always will be. And I think everyone's going to be very pleased and excited for the system. We've put a lot of effort, work, designing this thing, and just I'm more excited to get this in the market, to get into people's hands. I think it's going to be a great system for everybody.
Heck yeah. I bet you guys are excited to get it to the market. You need to pay for all the shit you've been working on over the last 3 years. So, heck yeah. Well,
it's one of those things you get just tired of thinking, like, all right, I just need to get this goddamn thing out there.
Oh yeah, I bet I would be stressing out as well. So, I don't know. I mean, really, I will get this review or description, whatever you guys want to call. I will have something up on my page real quick. Again, people can ask me, but Chris, Josh, I appreciate you guys hopping on. Everyone go buy their stove system as fast as you can, and then sell all your jet boils or send them back to Jet Boil with a big middle finger would be my suggestion. So Chris, Josh, thanks again.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate
the time.
Heck yeah. All right, everybody, take it easy. Thanks for listening.